What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for MLB Monday, August 26th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. Okay, guys, let's dive right into our picks for today's slate. Let's start with the pitcher position. I like Bryce Miller from the Seattle Mariners. He's got a 600% pitching advantage here versus the Tampa Bay Rays. Bryce Miller, only giving up a .549 OPS versus righties, and he's facing 5 righties today. On top of that, he's giving up a .368 batting average versus the Rays, but that doesn't tell the full story. He's only faced this team across 19 pitches and given up 7 hits. Bryce Miller is priced at $8,900 on DraftKings, and he's averaging 16 fantasy points per game this season. He scored 11, 33, and 27 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So, I like Bryce Miller here versus the Tampa Bay Rays. Okay, let's take a look at the catcher position. I like Ryan Jeffers from the Minnesota Twins. He's got a solid 19% batting advantage over a lefty pitcher from the Atlanta Braves. Ryan Jeffers bats much better versus lefty pitchers with a .940 OPS. This is a low ownership pick at just 5%, so he could be a good sleeper play for you. He's $4,100 DraftKings salary and has averaged 7 fantasy points per game on the season, with a strong recent performance scoring 19, 8, and 2 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I like Ryan Jeffers here versus the Atlanta Braves. Next, let's turn our focus to the first base position. I like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. from the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, Vladimir doesn't have any specific batting or pitching advantage today, but he's facing the Boston Red Sox. Vladimir is always a strong pick because of his consistent performance, hitting 27 home runs this season and maintaining a .320 batting average. His ownership sits at 16%, reflecting solid confidence from the field. Vladimir is priced at $5,700 on DraftKings and has been on fire recently, scoring 18, 25, and 2 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. here versus the Boston Red Sox. For the second base position, take a look at Connor Norby from the Miami Marlins. Connor has no particular advantage today, but he's up against a Colorado Rockies team that isn't highly ranked. He's been delivering solid performances, scoring 26, 14, and 14 fantasy points in the last 3 games. Priced at $3,700 on DraftKings, he's averaging 8 fantasy points per game this season. With a fairly low ownership of 3%, Connor Norby could be a good value play today. Let's move on to the third base position. Again, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is a strong candidate if you're looking to double dip at first base and third base. With his recent high performances and consistent stats over the season, he's hard to ignore at the $5,700 DraftKings price point. Next, to the shortstop position. I like Ezequiel Tovar from the Colorado Rockies. He's got a 28% pitching advantage today versus the Miami Marlins. Tovar has hit 19 home runs this season and maintains a .271 batting average. However, he's only batting .000 versus this pitcher in 4 at-bats. Priced at $5,600 on DraftKings, Tovar's ownership is just 1%, making him a good sleeper option. In the last 3 games, Tovar has scored 3, 14, and 7 fantasy points. So I like Ezequiel Tovar here versus the Miami Marlins. Finally, let's look at the outfield. I like Kerry Carpenter from the Detroit Tigers. He's got a 22% batting advantage today versus the Chicago White Sox. Kerry Carpenter has been hitting well with an OPS of .841 versus righties. At a $4,400 DraftKings salary and an ownership of 10%, he's a reliable pick averaging 8 fantasy points per game. He scored 12, 7, and 0 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I like Kerry Carpenter here versus the Chicago White Sox. Before I continue with the picks, remember you can try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself by clicking the link in the description of this video. Okay, back to the picks. For additional value, consider Victor Scott II from the St. Louis Cardinals. Although he's got a low batting average of .150, his recent performances are promising, scoring 14, 7, and 11 fantasy points in the last 3 games. Priced only at $2,200 with 0 ownership, he's facing a San Diego Padres team that has struggled defensively, making him a sleeper pick with a potential upside. If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this MLB slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.